Hi, my name is Shelly Harrison, and I'm the CEO and founder of Luminary Leaders. And I was asked to give you a tip today about the speaking industry. And I want to share with all the speakers out there and subject matter experts that it is important for you to leverage LinkedIn. If you're reaching out to event planners, the best thing to do is to reach out to people on LinkedIn first, make that authentic connection, and then go ahead and send them an email. And that way it's going to be a better handoff and a warmer introduction of your products or services as a speaker. And now it gives me great privilege to introduce three phenomenal colleagues of mine who are going to have a very lively discussion. And now I want to introduce Angel Guerra Chagolla, Kimjera Whittington, and Michelle Bergquist.
I'm curious because, living on Zoom for 20 months, we're still there. I mean, we're back out and kind of meeting in person. Like what for you? Because so many of us, like I did, I'm squishy anyway. So from a wellness standpoint, squishy, and like having happy hours on a Zoom meeting and having a little wine bar in my home office, which I never had before. That's gone now, right? Yeah. I mean, you get Zoom butt. That's a technical term I've heard. But how did you kind of like start to wake up and go, or did you just kind of get through and stay healthy and keep focused on wellness? Because I talk to so many people and they're just like, man, Zoom screwed me up. My stamina. It's like my getting dressed during the day or in the morning is tough now. What about
living in yoga pants?
Yes. Yeah, we're dressing halfway up, right? We're actually dressed all the way up on this show, but anyway.
No, I'm with you on that. Like, I literally just sat. I sat and sat. And I definitely developed like some posture issues. In fact, one of my clients right now has an incredible posture, a vest that you can wear that just really helps posture. It has made a significant difference for me. But yeah, I felt like my movement just literally took a hold. So what I ended up trying to do was to take walks, especially on the weekends and then usually in the morning. But I'm just now getting back in the gym for the very first time in like 2 years. Like I literally for 2 years did not go to the gym. And I finally just said enough's enough. I have to get back in there. It's hard. I think it's hard. What about you?
Well, I kind of worked remote or I worked, office for a long time. So I've pretty much always had that issue where I have my day job plus my own business, and so I do a lot of sedentary, but it was the walking. And so I said, okay, let me at least get up in the morning, kind of go for that morning walk. But when COVID first hit, I think that I kind of had the highs and the lows, because when COVID first hit, yes, I was coming off that high of the yacht. And then 3 months in, I got furloughed from my day job. And then I had events, which I could no longer have. So guess what? That income went. And then I had a nonprofit, which I was kind of, using to, the money that I was getting from my for-profit, I was helping the kids, and nobody had money to get to the nonprofit. So for like a week, I think I was bedridden, and I just wanted to like kind of cover my head with a blanket and go, I'm done. What now? What? Like, I have no job. What do I do next? And I won't say it was probably more 4 or 5 days, but then I had to kick myself and go, okay, now what? And that's when I said, let's utilize, the social media portion of it, because I am like you. I'm like, I love people. I'm a hugger. It was like this whole weird.
I missed hugs.
Right? It's kind of that whole weird thing of those of us who are used to being kind of, more touchy-feely, and it was this whole thing of now it's like no jobs, gotta stay at home, you can't see people. Like, it was kind of weird. But recently, over the last couple of years, I started with premenopause as well. Okay, so now we have that. I have some medical issues.
Those are called private summers.
Yes, my own private summer, right?
Been through it, just saying.
And recently, I met a doctor who actually focuses on that, and she focuses on what she calls ketogenic for menopause. And it's not keto, but it's a type of it's not a diet, but just a lifestyle change. And I had a meeting with her yesterday, and what's really nice is I like to barter. So I'm bartering some of my, business with her business in a way of how can we kind of help myself get back into healthy eating, because, I'll tell you, Grubhub, it's easy, right?
DoorDash.
So they made so much money during this. Like, it went insane.
And it wasn't good food. I'm just saying. It wasn't good food.
Well, and so when I did start working again, my day job, so now you have, 40, 50 hours in my day job, about 25 hours in my own company. And it was like, I don't want to cook. And so it was easy to do that. So I'm hoping with, some of her kind of guidance, and it's the food, but it's also what I love about speaking with her is she was a pharmacist for over 25 years. And so she goes, it's really about bringing back the organic, the teas, how do we treat our bodies in more of a holistic view? And then how do we have that mind body set, right? So I don't know about you guys, but I am I eat my feelings. So I don't get angry or I don't get stressed. I eat them, right? So
I feel better, and then you don't feel better.
Exactly. So she's kind of that holistic.
Yes, I do.
Just saying.
Hey, I eat my ice cream at night when I need something.
Right, not a whole quart. I give a spoon, but that's my. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So I'm kind of excited to see what her program has, and she has some clients that have some really good things. And I thought, wow, okay, that's not something that people talk about, right? People in business and women in business, we don't talk about menopause. I think that it's kind of been a way where people go, oh, menopause, that means you're old, that means we kind of cast you out, and it's really thought about. I know I've said menopause in front of men, and they're like, ooh, and I'm like, Jesus, it's what happens. There's nothing bad about it. So I really love the fact that I am very open about everything. I'm very transparent, and talking to a doctor and a pharmacist and a businesswoman who says, you know what, let's help our women kind of get back into a natural health of things. So
I love that. I'll share something that it's interesting to me looking back, right? And I just want to put it away, from COVID when it happened. But to me, 2020 for me was more reacting and just doing, right? So it was acting, keeping our ship together. Like, I'm an association leader, and it's like for us, our community, and getting them on Zoom meetings was act, do. I came around to the beginning of this year, and it was like all of a sudden, like all of the things that I just did last year, I started to fall apart at the beginning of this year, because things started to settle down a little bit. We started to have meetings, and then just from a self-care standpoint, I feel like that's where the stress was. Like, I started to relax, and I went, oh my God, like, I'm not taking care of myself. It's like I'm still eating badly. It's like that. Then the stress came on me, whereas before it was just, get through it and be the, as they say, the leader you need to be, right? Be strong, be doing it. And then this year was like, I crumbled like a domino set. I mean, it was like, I wasn't motivated. It's like I felt sloppy. It's like I just, that self-talk to yourself. And I was going, we did it. And then I'm like, why do I feel so kind of like blue?
It's that
I think that's very normal. Like that depression, that funk that we can get into, I think is very normal during this. I mean, I've talked to so many people, and that we all want to we want to keep going, right? Like, when you said doing that, I totally get, because I feel like I put on what's called business mode, and I just go, right? My husband's like, oh, she's in business mode again. I'm like, great, but beast mode. I like that. So what I realized is, like, how do I pull back? How do I not hit the point where I'm like in bed or depressed, or because we all have those moments. I've had them where sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm done for the rest of the day. Can't do anything more. Like, I've hit my limit, and it's okay, I think, to say that. Like, when you were talking about when that happened to you, for me, I call it like my pity party. I'm allowed to have it. I'm allowed to have it for no more than 24 hours for me. That's what I set my limit. And if I want to have it, I have it. And then I'm like, okay, now it's time to say, okay, you did it. Get yourself back up and figure out what you're going to do next. So I think if we give ourselves as women permission,
yes,
everything's so much easier, right?
But what I loved is when I got in that mode, I liked the pity party thing. I've heard that before, but it's only a term, so it's okay.
It's only a term.
But I started this year. It's like I started calling people I hadn't talked to in a while, and I mean, even last year I did too, because it's like, hey, where, and I somebody told me, I wish I would have come up with this. They said, ask the question, how are you today? And I was like, oh man, that's powerful, because people were like, oh, not how I am with the curt, oh, everything's fine, everything's wonderful. It was like, how am I today? You know what, honestly, and then it's like, wow. And I realized I wasn't alone, just in thinking that I can't plan anything. It's like I'm a planner. It's like I have no idea if our business will survive. All of that is just rolling around in your head and, talking with other people.
Like on that for me too, and I don't know if anyone else here is travelers, but that's where I get my inspiration and where I get my motivation. And then I think just not being able to travel for literally like 2 years was really challenging, even just to local places. Like everything was so shut down, and we would try and book something and then we were shut down again. But for me, that fills me back up. So I don't know, what other things fill you guys up when you're feeling like you need that bit of motivation to keep you going?
One of the things that I've always loved to do is I either hand make cards. I was an artist before I was a business person. I like that. So sometimes I'll hand make cards, and people I haven't talked to in a year, 2 years, I'll drop them in the mail and just say I was thinking of you. And so, for me, it's been really crazy because I'll get, a phone call or I'll get a text message and they'll say, you don't know that I needed this right now. And it's just out of the blue, whoever I'm thinking of. I also, I love to travel. And when that happened, actually, it kind of puts you on hold. And I just announced October 13th, 2022, I'll be kind of reinventing our business and health retreat for Beauty and Beast and Business. So it's all inclusive. Yeah, all inclusive in Cancun, which is nice. And, right before COVID, I had 27 ladies. We got on Carnival Cruise. And it was amazing. And so now we're going to do Cancun, and the year after we'll do Greece. And as I'm talking to these women, they say, I would love to travel, but my significant other doesn't want to go, or I'm by myself and I don't feel safe, or I've always wanted to but I can't afford to. So I'm right now doing a payment plan. You put $250 down and it's $125 a month until September.
Oh, that's smart.
Right?
That's smart.
And so it's really being able to kind of teach women exactly what we know is how do you get out and get inspired by other things, but learn how to do it affordably, learn how to do it in a group where you make new girlfriends, and in a safe spot where you don't feel uncomfortable going someplace and you're the only one.
Wow. For me, I love people. I mean, what killed me last year was I can't hug a Zoom meeting. I can't interact like this. And as we started to open up, but I will say for last year, to me, which I don't think even our members know, but for me, they saved me because the conversations of hearing how people were dealing with, the political, the social unrest, all of that, Black Lives Matter, and, we're very diverse as an association, and I just went, I'm losing my mind, just trying to think how are we going to keep this business afloat when I'm in the event industry and we can't do events. We can't do meetings. All we can do is Zoom, our members going to stay? And yet they literally, I love the conversations, but they probably saved me.
Oh,
sorry,
that's amazing. And I think that people don't say that enough.
Yeah. Because I do think it's community. Like, I feel like I still am missing that right now. Like, I still want that human interaction that I don't think I still get enough of with people. And like when you're talking about having those good girlfriends and being able to go out and, I think that community aspect of our life and of what we try and do, for me, my clients became my community for sure, because I was on Zoom all day. That's all I do is help, people online. So for me, that helped, I think, bridge that a little bit. But I still feel like I'm missing it a ton. Like I want it so bad in my life.
I'm still trying to dry my eyes. I'm sorry, you guys.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's been a huge change. I think a lot of people moved away.
Yes.
You know what I mean? There's been a lot of transition and transformation, which is beautiful. But I'm definitely missing that human interaction that we still, I don't think, have gotten back to norm.
I think it's weird too seeing people now when you oh, look at this, oh my gosh, is when you see people now, and some are masked. It's like some people do this, right? I'm when I go up to somebody that I know really well, I'm like, is it okay if I hug you? Who would have done that before COVID? Some say yes, some say no, and I'm thinking, gosh, okay, when you look at who gets COVID, it's the little bit wider berth, I'm going, oh my gosh, just everybody's in a different place. It's so different how we're interacting together.
Yeah. And again, that community when I really January this year started going, okay, we're going to build Beauty and Beast in business, and we're going to go from that solopreneurship to the LLC. Community has always been what's important to me, because I think that as I kind of work through people and I bring women together, the one thing that I love to hear is they're like, Angel, when we leave here, we feel strong, or we feel like we've been heard, or we feel like, you know, we belong. And so that's where that community comes in. And, you know, I've been having little things like the paint and sip. We had about, 25 ladies. We had dinner, and I like to utilize women-owned businesses. So, she was a little women breakfast cafe. She opened up in the evening, so we can do it. I hired a woman who owns art, art gallery and a paint and sip, so she came in, and we've had online virtual yogas, which for me, when I talk to my young client, I was like, okay, I love yoga, but I've had wrist surgeries, I have a bad back. Like, she did this amazing, what they call pillow yoga. So I said, I'm talking about, like, how do you do yoga when you're 45 years and older, right? So she did
thinking of doing some of those maneuvers. I'm like, I don't know.
So we did it virtually. We had people from Pennsylvania. We had people, they were like, this is amazing. It was all groundwork with pillows. Everybody was like, oh my God, I stretched body parts I haven't done since COVID, like from the sitting.
But you got the community involved, which is what matters the most, I think.
Yeah.
I love that.
I'm just curious. Here we're talking about all these things of what we experienced in COVID, but, what's been your biggest takeaway coming out of COVID? If you look back. I've got a couple, but Angel, what about you? I'm curious.
For me, it's really been about relationships. I think that recognizing what so many of us, I won't say took for granted, but just didn't recognize because we were on the go, right? So whether, it doesn't matter what you were doing, you're in the car, you're at work, you're doing groceries, you move. But it allowed us to stop and then really think about, well, who am I going to call today? Who do you want to reach out to? So one, it was relationships, but two, it was also a reset of, who am I? What do I want to do for the future? Who do I want to be when I grow up? Kind of thing,
Yeah.
And I think to me and so many other people, it was really that internal consciousness of, I'm not really happy with A, B, or C. How do I create the happiness that I want to have?
That's
powerful.
Huge. For me, it has been purpose. It's been figuring out what my passion is, what I want to do. As owning a digital marketing agency, I absolutely love my day-to-day helping clients. And I get to do incredible work with them, and I get to inspire them, and I get to help them grow their business. But for me, also, I wanted to look at myself and say, okay, how can I give back? Like, what is going to actually fill me up in a different way? Not saying that I'm going to stop that, because I love it. But I've also realized how important it is for me to help other people grow in their own business in a completely different way. So I was kind of telling you guys earlier, before the camera started, that
What camera?
I know, right? But I just started, I'm just now starting a different side of my business to help people create, because there's so many people with the Great Resignation right now that have, what they're calling the Great Resignation, that have quit jobs because they're also trying to figure out who they are, what they're trying to do in their life. And after building a 7-figure company, I want to teach other people and help guide other people in all the methods and the strategies and all the things that took me failing and losing and winning and learning and adjusting to get to where I am, and help people create a business like that. So it's almost like a little bit of a business pivot for me too. Again, not taking away my marketing side, because I love that.
It's an addition.
Yes, that's the way I need to look at it. Like, I'm trying to rack it in my own head of, like, how do I want to position it? And it really is just an additional consulting aspect of making a difference for more people in a bigger scale. So that part I'm really passionate about. And I think for just purpose, like, again, what fills us up? I think COVID brought that on for all of us through this. What about you, Michelle?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, first of all, don't ever use the word pivot again, because I'm like, I hate that word.
Oh,
But
So what do you use instead?
What do you say?
SPA, shift, pivot, adapt.
shift.
I'm just joking. I'm
Okay.
joking. Like, seriously, that's all we did over the last
It is
20
true.
months is
It
pivot,
is true.
pivot, pivot. And I love Friends. Remember the show where, that was pivot, pivot. I'm like, I am.
Stop talking about
Stop the nonsense. But that word kind of caused me to reevaluate. I mean, I serve at the pleasure, right, of the group of people that it's like I lead, and I love what I do. I've been doing it for 13 years, but I think what is really, I mean, I haven't figured it out yet, but the thing that I kind of came to a conclusion for is that if I don't do what I do in business, I honestly don't know who I am. And I'm like, well, because I don't have children. It's like my husband's much older than me. He's got some really big health challenges, and we don't travel. I mean, I don't have that bug to go travel. And I think, if not what I do, what would I do?
Yeah.
And it's a big void.
So it's like defining you almost.
Yeah, and so to me, it's like, what would I do for fun? Like, business is fun, but does that equal a whole person? And so I'm going through really a big kind of question in my mind. I know last year, I remember in COVID, people said, well, within this time, it's like get a hobby or up level. And I'm like, hobby? What is hobby? Like,
What would I even want to do?
I'm not a crafter, right? I'm not like an artist like you are. It's like stick figures. I can't think beyond that. But for me, I started learning what I used to do, which was my corporate banking days, and I started to learn how to invest in stocks.
You got
Give me the
Well, we're riding on a high right now. But it's like, I went back to that, and I went, oh my God, and I started talking to some of our members, and I'm shocked, me included, how many of us as women don't take time to invest in the stock market and
we
learn.
don't understand it, and it's not the norm, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I see in
We need
business
to
all
make
the
it
time.
so, but I'm on a passion now for that.
So I see it all the time where men talk about that all the time. But we don't talk about it, and we don't talk about it because it's not something that even when you go to college or when you're in high school or whatever, it's not a mainstay
Well,
conversation.
you actually, if you grow up and your parents say like money doesn't grow on trees or we don't talk about money, then you end up with that in your mindset, which isn't really the truth, right?
Exactly. And for me, I started to go through and said, okay, well, I learned, my 401k, and that was a great way to invest. And I said, okay, well, that's paying a portion and it's a safe way to invest. And, that was for me at the least, if I'm going to put money away. But I was always interested in, okay, how do people invest in these either specific companies or groups of companies?
That's cool.
And I wouldn't be what people would call a day trader, right? Because to me, I don't have that kind of risk appetite, even as a risk manager, as a director of risk.
That's the thing, though, is we look at it like gambling. You know what I mean? This is, I guess, the thing that I'm learning is that if you really truly understand, you got to get in the game. Just like people go,
but you got to learn it,
right? Exactly, a little bit, and it's like it's trying. Like there's so many easy ways now to invest because that really, I mean, what I grew up with was penny saved is a penny earned.
Right.
You have a savings account, and when you look at the saving, I mean, I don't want to get into details, but to me, it's like that was something that it's like I needed to do something for me, and I've never done that, so that was kind of new and special.
But that is a hobby, like you said.
Yes.
In essence, you created a hobby out of something that actually is meaningful to you, which is all that matters.
What stock would you guys like to know about? I'm just joking. At any rate, that's
we're gonna talk about that.
That's
later.
So I'm dying to know more. I mean, Kimjera, you and I mean, we've known each other a little bit, but tell me more about your business. Like, I really don't know enough about what you do, and I'm really curious.
So my marketing agency specializes in storytelling. So all I do is utilize the power of story in a message. And really that just comes down to when you talk to people, right? As business owners, what do we tend to do? We say, here's who I am, here's what I do. Our 60-second elevator pitch is all about, here's my new products and services that I have, here's my best places to work certification, whatever it might be, right? But people don't buy that way. They buy when they read or hear words that make them want to buy. So I'm a StoryBrand certified guide and coach, and I specialize in using story to make it about the customer and their story, right? So you're inviting them into a story. It's what we do right here. It's what we do in conversation. But when you do it in marketing, people want to click the button and they want to buy your products and services. So I help people package their products together. create a website that's effective, that they'll get more leads and sales, etc. So I love it. I get to work with all kinds of
I like how
clients.
she just threw that in.
Oh, well, you know.
Let's hear the story on that.
No, it really, it's my passion is in the branding piece of it and the messaging piece of it, because when I work with a client, I mean, just seeing how they go, oh my God, everything I've ever wanted to say about my company, you just summarized it.
That's
and they
cool.
feel really amazing about it. So
That's awesome.
I love the fact that you recognized, or that you said, this was my mission at the beginning. And, as I work with women who are creating new businesses, I talk about that all the time, because we're talking about their mission statement, and we will start working on their business plan. And, they'll start to say, I'm not making any money. And I'm like, okay, who's your market? And they'll tell me, and I'm like, have you ever thought about, switching over or looking at a different
like the
market?
niche, like what?
Yeah. Or the other thing is, they talk to me and they're like, well, this is my market, but my money's coming in here. And I'm like, okay, that's telling me something. Like, let's switch it over. But it's that thought process of, I think, where people think if you don't do exactly what you said you were going to do at the beginning, you failed.
No.
And it's like, okay, so this is what I heard it once, and I love to utilize this. It's, if business people were scientists, then it wouldn't be considered failure, it would be considered trial, right?
Ooh,
and so it's like, you need 500 trials or 50,000 trials in order to find, the right equation or the medication that works or whatever. As a scientist, it's not considered failure.
Not at all.
But when we come into business, they're like, oh, that didn't work, you failed. Well, no. I tell people, I tried it. It was a trial. It did not work. I learned from it. So now we're switching over. And it's, again, coming back to the thought process of giving ourselves permission to do that.
Yes.
Because we haven't. And as women, it's really not. It's this expectation of everything's supposed to be done perfectly the first time. You're supposed to be able to handle kids, your business, your, job, your, whatever else comes into play, where our days are usually 18-hour days. I get up at 4 a.m. I start my day working by 5 a.m. and I'm probably closing my computer down at 10 p.m.
Yeah.
So it's that thing, but then it's the ability to give ourselves grace.
Yeah.
And for me, I think that that's really important when I talk to my community of people, or just talk to people in general, and they're feeling bad about something. I say, close your eyes and give yourself grace. Like, say, it's okay. Now, what am I going to do tomorrow? What did I learn from that?
I love that.
What about you?
Yeah,
What do you have planned?
Yeah.
Wow. Can we talk about you?
No, I want it, because we've talked so much, and I mean, you do some. I love what you do, and so I just want you to share more about the impact you're making on women. Because you are.
Well, thank you. Gosh, okay, I'm just sitting up taller. It's like, thank you. I needed this. No, here's what's interesting is that we celebrated our 13-year anniversary this year, right? So we're a professional association of women who are in business, right? They're in business and industry and leading, companies, or they're leading teams or people or projects. So we're very much a hybrid of women who work for or they own their own company. That said, I think what's interesting, and when you were saying, Kimjera, about how you started your business, where my association is right now, and it's Connected Women of Influence, love the name, is I didn't start with the idea to do a business venture. I mean, to me, it was very similar to this, except we had really pretty wine glasses with wine in them. And I was having a conversation with about 3 other friends, and we were catching up. I was traveling. One of my friends was looking at buying or selling her business to a big defense contractor. Another one of my colleagues was, trying to get over the angst she had over, dealing with the fact that she felt guilty because she had a daughter that was 6 years old and would say, Mommy, please don't go to work today, that kind of thing. Yeah. And she owned a small business, and as you know, you don't work 8 to 5. So she was having a lot of guilt and angst over it. And then, my other colleague and friend was, getting her MBA and saying, I've got all these skills, but everybody just sees me as old right now, coming back from, getting her MBA in her later years. And it was this wonderful conversation. I remember everyone looking at each other and going, why don't we do this more often? This was so amazing. This was awesome. Of course, the wine was great too. And I'm sorry, that's a theme, but I love women and wine. It goes together. And I remember my partner at the time, Jamie, looked at me and she said, why don't we why is there a women's group like this? And I was like, I remember some of us going, oh God, not another women's group, right? And we just kind of looked at each other, and I remember Jamie looking at me, and somebody said, well, let's go see. And I remember Jamie going, why isn't there a group like that? And to me, that was like, woo, challenge accepted. And so for us, it was about inviting women together to be able to share their experiences, not to have somebody, because I love, there's so many women's groups, right? Mm-hmm. So for us, what I think is different is that ours is about the conversations and the discussions and the shared experiences, just like we're doing here. Yeah. You know, you can do it in a living room, you can put a small group together of your own. It's like, it just became this phenomenal thing. And then from that, it's like I look over the years and I think, well, why can't we recognize women for some of this wonderful stuff they do? Women are not, you know, kind of like promoters of themselves.
No,
and so we started an awards event, you know, and then from that, TED Talks are out there. And we were like, one of my partners, Deanna Potter, said, why can't we try our own version of talks? And here's all these wonderful members where we turned into a membership group we weren't thinking of, and it became this incredible community of women, right? And so flip it forward 13 years, we're not anything
like here.
We're not anything of what we thought we would
started.
be.
Yeah.
So,
but that's the transformation that just happens when you're passionate about what you do. Yeah. It takes on a life of its own.
Coming to an end of our time, which has been just amazing.
Are we done with time? We can't
know, right? It's
we
kind of we can stay, take 30. So let's just ask, you know, what's your kind of final thought about where you're at and what you have planned for 2022, where maybe somebody might be interested in contacting you and saying, okay, how can I work with her? What would you tell them?
Oh, Michelle, go first.
Oh my God, don't pass the torch to me. But I have an answer. Do you want me to go first?
Okay, no, I will own this. Talking about women not being self-promoters very well. So for 2022, I think for me, it's, again, my purpose has transformed to continuing to help amazing business owners with marketing and doing marketing for them and helping them grow. And also, I think my passion of consulting and really being able to impact lives. I mean, again, when I think of how many people right now are saying, God, if I could just replace my 6-figure income in a short amount of time and do something I want to do and travel and have more time for friends and family.
Flexibility.
Exactly. Like that to me fills me up. Just having that conversation and saying, look, I've got the roadmap. Let me walk you through it. Yeah. You can do it, you know? And like, I'm just naturally a motivator. So lifting people up that way. So for me, I think contacting me for that, either side, but I think that side would be such a big impact for people to be able to quit corporate America, or if they have already, you know, do something different.
Do you know how many women
invest
want to leave
in
corporate
yourself?
America? Oh my gosh, you're gonna be busy. Be careful.
I know.
Careful what you wish for, which
I'm telling you, people can do it, especially women. Like I want women to know. Like most women think tech. Oh my God, I can't. You can. It's not hard.
What about you, Michelle?
You know, I'm using the word of the year this year for next year, and I think what was very tough. I'm going to admit I am very much, and I own this, a control freak. I'm going to go with that in many ways. And that said, I think this year, knowing that I can't control, and my word this year was ready. Because I had no idea what was going to happen all year. Like in January, are we going to start to meet? Are we not? You know, will my members show up? Will they not? What do they want? What don't they want? And I think that's the big thing for 2022 is this last quarter of the year has been working back to just go to members. I'm trying to meet you where you are. I serve at your pleasure. What would excite you about us? And what's fascinating to me is that it is not what we used to be. Mm-hmm. And I think it's kind of this, there's no road. I mean, events are different.
So for 2022, you're just really kind of open to see
what's
organic.
It's killing me with no plan, but it's just to be ready and kind of like do it more in the short term. So that's the only way right now. It's like I can't even think of how we'll do it. What about you? Because you've got big plans.
I know.
You know, and I do. So I have, I would say 70% of my 2022 on calendar.
Wow.
I'm going national this year.
Seriously?
Yes.
Amazing.
I'm going national this year. So I have a lot of small local. Mm-hmm. So in February, I have Women, Wine, and Galentine in Temecula. You guys gonna come? Yes.
All right.
And you know, it's really talking about how do we come together and celebrate each other, celebrate friendships, and not just think of Valentine's Day as, you know, this kind of romance love, right?
Yeah.
But it's really about how do we love ourselves and how do we love the women that we work with, right?
Take on that.
And then so we have that. I have a huge 300 person event in May in Southern Cal. In July, I'll be in Chicago, and I'll be having an event there. Then we go up to Northern Cal. I'm possibly going to be in Texas as well. And then we have the Cancun event, which really, so again, my business is Beauty and Beast in Business. And I came to that by saying, I remember looking at myself in the mirror and going, I don't fit that, cute little, oh, she's so pretty, and pretty but doesn't know anything, and I don't fit that beast because, I remember when I was young, that's what people would say, and then I don't fit that beast mode where it's like, oh, we don't want to work with her but I had to recognize we all have both, right? Inner. So we have that inner spirituality, that inner kindness, that's our beauty. And we have that inner perseverance and that strength, which gets us through those barriers, that's our beast. And sometimes it's a 50-50, sometimes it's a 40-60,
Would you use badass? Because you're kind of badass.
Oh, well, I'll take that on. I'm going to use that as a label. And so 2022 for me is really about standing on my foundation of advocacy. So I believe my business and myself really is built on what I call 4 pillars, which is education, advocacy, connection, and empowerment. And how do we bring in women? How do we bring in our male allies who are like, you know what? We see that you guys are doing great things. Let us open doors. Let us do some sponsorship. And having that synergy between us. And that's really what I'm planning for 2022.
I just got an idea. So remember I said I was ready? Okay. We should look at doing something collaboratively.
I'm open.
I like that.
That would be
I
fun.
like that. That's very cool. That's very cool. Wow.
I think it's going to be a great year. I really do.
Let's toast to that, shall we?
Let's toast.
Okay.
Our nice water.
So stronger.
It's been awesome, you guys. I'm very blessed to have wonderful women in my life and to be able to have this conversation and just to be able to go deep and have realness.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's what that authentic.
I hate surface stuff. That's the one thing I hate the most.
Seriously,
Don't
right?
tell me everything's wonderful, everything's fine, everything's great. Which, that's great if it is. But we also, it's like, things don't just turn out great, at one moment.
Ladies,
it's like we all have the struggle.
I want to say I'm so glad that we toasted one another. And I am up for, some collabs next year. And to all of those that are sitting here and watching us, we can't wait for you to join our communities in 2022.
Yay!
Thank you so much, ladies. Why don't you say goodbye?
Thank you. Nice.